Hey, good evening. How you doing tonight? I have a couple of things on my mind I wanted to share with you. What if you've been a shy person for a lot of your life and you're still struggling to make friends or feel like you belong somewhere? Well, they say loneliness is not that you don't know anyone, but that no one knows you. It takes a certain risk to be known, and I'm going to encourage you to take that risk. To know you is to love you. That's pretty much the truth. So, let's break this down. Back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and maybe even into the 80s, there were a couple of ladies, they were twin sisters, who wrote a lot of columns nationwide. It was Dear Abby and Ann Landers. They were actually sisters, and they both answered questions from the public on all kinds of things. Right now, there's, I think, Reddit and Quora for a similar purpose. I actually have been writing on Quora for years. Have about 4 million views of my articles. If you ever want to look them up, Linda Schiller Hannah. But I used to be the shyest kid in school, and I learned from Abby how to break that. She said, what you do is you ask a person 3 questions. And I immediately thought, what 3 questions? I just knew they were magic. She said, it doesn't really matter. Ask questions about things about them. Do you like the band? Where'd you get your ring? Do you live in the area? Just show interest in them. She says, no one can resist someone showing that much interest in them. And you know what? She's right. It worked. I went from the shyest kid in school to a person who really enjoyed making lots of friends. I don't mean you have to keep them all. You get to be selective, but you certainly can have conversations start by just asking questions. Breaking out of that bubble of your own aura and reaching out, showing interest in someone besides yourself. Now, there's another thing that's helpful, and that is being a good listener. I learned about listening when I was trained to be a suicide prevention volunteer when I lived back in the Bay Area. And what they taught us was what they called active listening. Well, I would work the phones. I did the midnight shift because I wake up easily. And when someone would be patched through on the call, you would ask them, what happened today? People are usually suicidal over something that happened today. And here's a sample of how that might go. So say the guy says, well, I got fired from my job. And you do active listening, you feed back. Oh, you lost your job today? What happened? Well, my car broke down and I was late for work. And my boss fired me. Oh my goodness. Because you had car troubles too? Yeah, he doesn't pay enough to keep it going. So car troubles, money troubles, and fired? Yeah. How am I going to make it? Oh, that sounds really tough. Wow. Let's talk more about that. And so by listening and repeating back, the person, you can just feel their tension drop down and they begin to relax. And by the end of the call, they've moved out of that trauma. Sometimes people will call and they're afraid to say, I'm thinking of killing myself. They did call suicide prevention. They didn't call dial a prayer, right? So if they have a hard time bringing it up, we were taught to say, are you thinking of killing yourself? So that we break the hard subject. There's a certain relief in being able to talk about the heavy subject. Then we might say, do you have a plan? Well, I'm not sure. I've got some baby aspirin here. I've got 4 or 5. Yes, I've got a loaded gun, and it's to my head as we speak. The reason you asked, do you have a plan, is you want to find out how lethal they are. Some people are very vague. It's a new concept. They're needing support and attention. And I always say, what's wrong with giving someone attention and support? God bless them. We were taught if someone said, I've got a loaded gun, go put that on the back porch and come back and talk to me. You got pills, go dump them down the toilet and come back and talk to me. Sometimes they won't do it. And sometimes, God forbid, you don't hear them walk away and shoot themselves. But suicide prevention training is necessary if you're going to go on the lines. But do pay attention if someone in your circle is saying, I may as well be dead, or they start giving away all their stuff, or what's the use, or they've gone through a big breakup, or they're having financial troubles. Start asking, what's going on? Let's talk about it. One of the things we do when I was trained in psychic development at Heart Song in Berkeley years and years ago is we learned to make a heart connection. I'm going to show you a heart connection. It's like a violin string of energy, heart to heart, from my heart to theirs, to yours right now. A heart connection is one of the 7 steps we use in doing a psychic reading for someone, or even a healing. And to me, it's one of the most important. Yes, being intuitive psychic is a learnable skill. It requires you to meditate. It requires you to go into at least an alpha state of mind. I have had my brain checked with biofeedback and other technical equipment, and my brain goes into a very different place when I'm doing a reading than when I'm in normal, whatever that is. There is a YouTube video with Teresa, the New Jersey psychic, with Dr. Amen, and when he tested her brain, it was very, very different when she was doing her connection to the people on the other side. So this is a scientific proof that there is something to it, that we use our brains differently than we do in normal daily life, and it is a learnable skill. In fact, if you're interested, one of my friends, one of my students, Judith Pennington, wrote this book, Your Psychic Soul, and I'm in chapter 3, and I actually teach the 7 steps right in the chapter 3. So if you're curious, you can find it on Amazon or wherever good books are sold. There's a little commercial for you, and you don't have to. I'm just trying to demystify the mysteries of life. I don't need to hold them any longer. Actually, I've always just wanted to share what I know. And I'm tickled that YouTube exists and that I can talk to you right now. So that's probably all we need to say. But I want you to reach out. And if you have trouble reaching out, if it's hard for you to do this in a public place or with total strangers, try a 12-step group. You can do those online on Zoom now that are just everywhere. Think of something you qualify for: overeating, smoking, drinking, drugging, codependency. There's thousands of groups. And just join in, and they say we're sick as we are secret. And those meeting rooms don't allow people to cut you off. You get to share. You might have a timer, but you get to share. And this is where I first learned to be heard, or in these 12-step meetings. So even though they say you shouldn't break your anonymity, for the good of the cause, I'm breaking my anonymity. I'm an ACOA. If you don't know what that is, look it up. All right, have a good evening and God bless you. And don't forget to make your heart connection. Night for now. Take care. Where's my little thing to turn it off? I'll just stop it.